Had a one-night stand with the guy whose fiancée my ex cheated with. But now I'm pregnant. He had a one-night stand with the guy whose fiancée my ex cheated with, but now I'm pregnant. He blocked me, and my entire family decided to disown me. My ex and I met when I was 20. But we're only friends until we started dating 2.5 years ago. I found out last year that my ex had been cheating on me for basically our whole relationship with a girl he met through a mutual friend. I broke things off after I found out and told the girl's fiancé about their affair. He ended up breaking off their engagement after he found out, and she seemed nonchalant about it until she realized that my ex's money wasn't actually his. My grandma left me a lot after she passed back in 2019, and my ex had been flaunting around the things I'd gifted him throughout our relationship to her, even going as far as to claim that the house and antique car my grandpa left for me and as well were my ex's. It's not something I'm proud of now that I think back to it, but I did allow my ex to walk all over me for the first month or two after I broke things off because I missed him so much. I gave him money and tried to make things work, but would always get reprimanded by my parents and friends when I'd run to them crying after he ghosted me for her. I didn't officially give him up until the girl's ex-fiancée messaged me and told me that she was rubbing it in some of their old friends' faces about how I was and how desperate I was for my ex, who didn't even give an F about me. I was really upset and asked him if he'd be willing to meet up with me because I knew that if I talked to my parents or friends about this, then they'd just lecture me even more. He agreed, and the two of us met up at a random food cart place. We ended up spending most of the day just exploring and talking about how we were doing. He'd also confided in me about his relationship with his ex. They'd known each other for 10 years and they liked each other for most of the time. They were friends, but he wasn't looking for a relationship because he was focusing on school. He had decided to give them a chance after she'd driven 12+ hours overnight to him because they talked on the phone, and he said he was feeling under the weather and was stressed from how vigorous his residency schedule was. She dropped everything to take care of him, helped clean his place and made him some home-cooked meals. After finding out that he was surviving off of vending machine snacks and instant coffee, he told me in detail about how he'd never felt so loved and cared for. How after she'd done that for him, he decided that she was the one, that if this wasn't love, then love wasn't real. Finding out that she was cheating for the last 2 years made everything click into place. She'd been pushing off getting married, telling all her friends that she was having doubts about him. He'd been trying to convince her into going to couples counseling when I broke the news to him that she was sleeping with my ex. I felt like a monster hearing their love story and then realizing that they didn't get their happy ending because of my ex, and I messed with my head. We continued to talk from time to time, checking in on each other and me eating up for quick bite every now and then. We lost contact after the girl my ex cheated on me with somehow convinced him to take her back. I became slightly depressed after he cut me off, explaining to me that he was still in love with her and wanted to work things out, which meant a clean slate. I found out through some internet snooping that my ex cheated on her too, which was why she went back to her ex-fiancé. A few months passed and things went back to semi-normal. I started getting therapy and was about ready to put myself back out there to try out the dating pool again when around New Year's I got a call from the guy. He was crying and asking if I was available to talk. I of course said yes, and out of concern met up with him at his place. He broke down to me and told me about how he'd found her and my ex in his mom's guest bedroom during Christmas when she'd snuck him in for a quickie during his family's busy holiday party. All broke loose when he'd found them in the guest bedroom. After spending 20 minutes looking for her everywhere, we drank a bit and ended up having. He apologized and told me that it was a mistake and he wasn't in his right mind, that he just wanted revenge, but it didn't make him feel any better. After I tried to message him platonically a few times after to see if he was alright, but he blocked me, so I dropped it and went on with my therapy and life. I went in last week to check with my doctor since I've been getting bad cramps and to get a new prescription refill for my birth control that I used to help with my PCOS. I had to do a usual test to double check for the possibility if I was pregnant, and was very surprised when it came back positive. I have been sitting on this new knowledge and have been contemplating on if I should tell him, not tell him, or if I should even keep the pregnancy. My doctor did inform that since I am still in the earlier stages, I am still at a big risk of having a miscarriage. So, I don't know if I should even be worrying at all about all of this, since there is a chance that I could lose it. And then it had just seemed like I was trying to grab at his attention or something, especially after he made it clear to me that he wasn't comfortable talking to me anymore after we slept together. I haven't told anyone and I've been going crazy because I don't know what to do. Update 1. A lot has happened since my original post. I know a lot of people were against this, but I went through with the pregnancy and I am forever thankful for my beautiful baby. I had originally planned to get an abortion, but I found myself unable to go through with the appointment. I am pro-choice and always will be. Just because I chose to keep my baby doesn't mean another woman, girl, should be forced to keep a pregnancy they do not wish to continue. Everyone has a right to their own bodies. My parents were very upset with me and my whole family disowned me. I listened to what some of you said about letting the father know. We'll be referring to him as Dave. After many failed attempts to reach out to him, I decided to go in person. Dave was not happy when I showed up at his place, but when I told him why, he agreed to talk with me. Dave let me know that he'd officially ended things with his ex and wanted to go no contact with me because I was another tie to his past with her, but he was willing to try and figure out a co-parenting plan with me if I agreed to a paternity test. First, I of course felt a bit bad about the paternity test part, but agreed to it since we both had only been acquaintances that bonded over our trauma. Everything was honestly easy cruising until I started to spot around the 26-week mark. My bin explained that while spotting is normal while pregnant, mine was heavier and my sugar SL pressure also both worried them because of gestational diabetes and preeclampsia risk. After a few nights of Dave insisting on sleeping on my couch, I had him help me move some of my things to his place since he lived closer to the hospital. I am very thankful I decided to Move in with him when I did BC. I went into premature labor at 32 weeks. I am very thankful to have had Dave and his family as my support system. His mom would come and switch out with him at the hospital and advocated for me whenever I felt washed out or unheard. She helped me both emotionally and physically and stood by me. Dave's mom also helped me work through my emotions when all I wanted was my mom. She and my dad had gone no contact with me after I decided to keep and have my baby. Dave's mom was an absolute godsend also because she's a retired nurse. She started an OB, went to NQ and eventually later settled into lactation before retiring, and explained things to me when we found out that my baby had respiratory problems and had a single umbilical artery and that it could have been a factor into why I went into premature labor. She stayed with Dave and I so she could help me with pumping since I wasn't able to produce milk, and encouraged me when I felt like such a failure for not being able to take care of my son when he needed me most. She drove me to and from the hospital while my son was in the NQ because I was healing and so mentally physically exhausted. I really and truly believe that I didn't fall into deep postpartum depression because she held me and helped me with each step and was always so patient with me even when I wasn't with myself. Dave's mom would constantly remind me that nothing was our fault and no one did anything wrong. It's just that everyone is faced with hardship in life, and this was one we'd work together to get through. My son graduated from the NICU and came home a month after I did. Dave's mom visited us often and helped with him since Dave and I are first-time parents. Dave's dad joked that he felt like she and I had the baby together, and he and Dave were both just background characters that make guest star appearances every now and then since Dave was working so much in order to build more PTO, and his mom wouldn't bring his dad along when she'd come visit since she didn't want him to disturb me and the baby with his loudness. Dave's dad is hard of hearing and can sometimes be unaware of his volume, so he took no offense to it. Dave's siblings and family members posted a lot about our son because he was the first grandchild and first baby in a long time. Dave's youngest cousin is 17, turning 18 this year. Somehow someone must have shared a photo or something, but pictures of us reached my family, and my parents demanded I let them meet my son. Dave was supportive of whatever I chose to do and said he'd agree to them meeting him if that's what I wanted. After thinking about it for a few days, I decided that I wanted to talk to my parents before I let them meet my son. When we met up to talk, my parents were offended that I didn't bring my son with us and left him with Dave's parents. They said some really hurtful things, and then my dad started to question on when Dave was going to ask him for permission for us to get married since we didn't already have a shotgun wedding while I was pregnant. I was okay with them insulting me since I'd grown up with it and was used to it, but once my parents put their target on Dave and his family, I became upset and decided it was time for us to leave. My parents did try to petition for legal visitation rights. Honestly, before this whole ordeal, I did not even know that grandparents' rights existed but were denied, because my son is still very young and because both Dave and I are very much on good terms, are living in the same household, and they couldn't find or prove that there was any danger to our son's well-being. My family did try to reach out to us and claim that we were horrible people for denying my parents their grandchild, but no one ever seemed to be able to make a peep when Dave's family would defend us and point out that my family had been the one to disown me and that no one cared to see if I was okay until after I had the baby and everything was handled. Dave's mom and my mom got in a verbal, almost physical altar after my mom had made false reports to CPS and called the police to do multiple welfare checks on us. My mom was given a warning by the Story 2 police for harassing us after one specific incident where she had tantrum and caused a scene when the police found nothing wrong in the welfare check and refused to listen to her demands to have my son temporarily taken away from us and put in her custody for his safety. Dave and I currently have restraining orders pending against my parents and certain family members. One of the reasons I decided to update is because about 2 months ago a friend of Dave's asked him out to have some drinks and ran into his ex-fiancée, who later messaged him to tell him that she regretted the way they ended and how she was very hurt when she heard that we had a baby together, especially with it being so soon after their relationship. Dave wouldn't talk to me about how he felt, and when I asked him, he just brushed me off or switched the conversation onto a topic about our son that he knew would distract me. I noticed Dave pulling away from me and how our relationship became a bit awkward and strained after their run-in and her message, because I know he still has feelings for her and I am afraid that he might feel trapped with me and our son. I also noticed that the mama with my family has made Dave and his family less patient with me and my son. During Mother's Day, I overheard a few of his family members make comments to Dave about me being at their family barbecue since I was just my son's mom and not really part of the family. Dave just shrugged and said I didn't have anyone else to spend the day with how tense things have been. I've been thinking about moving out and back into my place. I stayed with Dave at his place after I gave birth, but now that our son is slightly older and I am healed, I want to give Dave back some space so that he can start dating again if he wants to, and to give him back some more bachelor time when I have our son. I want to find a way to approach me moving out and us making a co-parenting plan without making things more awkward or possibly ruining the relationship I have with Dave and his parents. I don't want them to feel like I'm not grateful or anything, but I do want to go back to work and get my life back on track so that I can provide my portion of needs for my son and not want to depend on his family for more than appropriate. Update 2. I've been trying my best to not check my phone or Reddit since I'm honestly a little overwhelmed right now. I will let you all know that I did talk to Dave and he was against moving out. He also wasn't willing to talk about the situation, how he's been acting after running into his ex, and said I was bringing up something that didn't matter since we were talking about me wanting to move out. I haven't said anything about what I heard during Mother's Day, and I don't think I'm going to mention it since I feel really bad that it was meant to be a private conversation, so I don't think anyone meant anything bad during our conversation. Dave let me know that maybe I'm just overthinking or overreacting and that I shouldn't make big decisions like moving out. He also talked about how because our son is a prey he'd prefer if one of us was a stay-at-home parent and until he turned 2 to 3 years old so he could catch up with his peers, and then once he started preg then we could go back to work again. But I feel like he's been trying to avoid me since the conversation, but I could also me overthinking like he said. But after reading someone comments I do feel like I'm valid in the way I feel, but I am also not sure anymore. I want to do what's best for my son. I know people already think I'm so dumb and that I shouldn't have had him, but I am trying to be better for my son. I feel like he's my only family left and I really want to try to do what's best for him. Next story, BFF tricked me into a blind date with a guy who's been obsessed with me for years. After my husband passed away he said now that my husband's not a problem he could raise my baby. Hello everyone, I just really need some clarity on this situation. I 23 have lost my husband 25 months ago to a car accident. He was the love of my life and I'm still not used to waking up without him every day. We have big plans for our future and it all came crashing down in a heartbeat. We met on his uncle's farm, he was a farmhand and it was love at first sight for me. I'm also 4 months pregnant, but I haven't told anyone. I was planning on telling my friend when I was feeling better. My best friend Lee 24F has been my shoulder to cry on during this time. She helped me with his funeral and anything else I needed as I'm NC with my bio family story for another time. She is currently dating Barry 24 meters. They usually hang out in a trio with Liam 24 meters. When I first met Liam he hit on me hard, tried everything as in would try and compare himself with my husband, say weird things like our kids would be cuter than if you had kids with my husband. He's also made weird comments like I need a city boy, would motion himself when I'm a country girl through and through. I typically would shut him down or ignore him, but I would always get dirty looks from Barry. Skip to Sunday night, I got a message from Lee begging me to come to dinner with her because she wanted to treat me as I had been through a lot in the last couple of weeks. Feeling not so about myself, I decided to go. When I arrived, she wasn't there, so I texted her asking how long she would be and she told me 5 minutes. She's just running late and is around the corner, so I'd have sat down and ordered a drink. Now 5 minutes comes and she's still not there, so I gave her the benefit of the doubt and waited another 5. When I'm about to call her, Liam comes rushing over and gives his apologies for being late. I asked him, "What's he doing here?" because I'm waiting for Lee and it was a 2-chair table. He smiles at me and grabs my hand. I ripped it off of him and he just says, "Oh, I asked Lee to set us up. Now that husband's name isn't a problem, we can finally get to know each other." He looked so cringy and I'm telling you I was floored. I stood up and told him that I wasn't interested and I certainly don't give a flying about getting to know him and that I just lost my husband without a word of a lie. This man stands up and said, "I know you're being overly emotional right now, so we'll forgive you for that. Sit down with me. I'm not saying we have to have straight away or anything." I shoved past him and went home as fast as I could. When I did get home, Lee messaged me, "Sue, how was dinner?" with a smirk emoji. I called her and when she answered I didn't let her get a word, and I yelled at her, asked her how she has the audacity to do something like this weeks after I just lost my husband when she's been the one to hold me together this whole time. I asked her what game was she playing and that the only reason I wanted to meet tonight with her was to tell her I'm pregnant. I just hung up on her and texted her I need time and don't want to be contacted by her for the time being. Last night, Barry came to my house and asked to talk. I said no and that if he didn't leave it, call the police. He told me that I broke Lay's heart and that I deeply hurt Liam, when now is an even better time to get to know Liam because he could raise my child with me. I opened my door, which Barry took as I wanted to talk instead. I hit him with my shoes and chased him to his car screaming. I'm actually embarrassed I did that all day today. I'm being flooded with messages from friends and the trio themselves shaming me for pushing the people who care about me the most away and that they don't even recognize the person I've become. The only thing that hurts me most is that my husband would know what to do, he would tell me how to fix it, and now I have no one who I can talk to. I'm just so numb inside. I have a therapy appointment tomorrow, but I'm thinking of calling my husband's mom, even though we've barely spoken since the funeral. Any advice is appreciated. Please exude any typos. I'm just so exhausted. I have a small update on another post comments where Op has replied, "Comment are one very weird and inappropriate people you have as so-called friends. Go and see with them just to you. Call your mother-in-law. She'll be thrilled about the baby. That's your support system. And join a grief therapy group if there is one local to you. It's okay to be numb. It's normal to be numb when life cracks you upside the head. This heart. Oop, thank you. I just feel so wrecked at the minute and I have joined a grief group in the city. I'm trying to grip enough courage to actually go oop on the friends thinking she needs to get over her husband's death. Oop, they think I should go out with Liam to get over my husband. I personally am in no way to be jumping into a relationship, let alone having a new family. Thank you for your advice." Commenter 2, these three are absolutely humans. Did they absolutely hate your late husband or something? Lose the three of them. I can't even comprehend the audacity that would make them think any of their behaviors was appropriate. Oop, Lee used to have a crush on my husband. She knew him because her brother used to play football with my husband. Other than that, Barry and Liam hated him because they think people from the country are stuck-up rednecks. Thank you for your comment. Commenter 3, are you uber rich or very very attractive? Because I can't understand why these people are pushing so hard to see you with a man again. Oop, Lee is the kind of woman who can't be single. I hope that explains her point of view. Update. October 30th, 2024. Hello Alan, thank you. I just wanted to start up with, I called my Mill Louise after making the post. I thought that I needed to tell her about baby because just like some of you said, she is overjoyed about the news. She didn't answer my call but instead drove straight over to my house. I honestly didn't know what to say to her, but we just hugged and cried all night. I didn't have the best delivery about how I am pregnant, probably due to all the crying, but she just lighted up and was so happy. It's the first time I've seen her be this happy, and all the time I've known her, so at least I have some support. My Phil came over when he finished work after Mill told him he needed to come to my house, and he was too overjoyed about becoming a pop. Louise offered to have the baby and I move in, and I agreed. She said that I can sleep in my husband's old room, which was a little bittersweet. When I told her what was going on with Liam and Barry, she was furious and told me not to worry about it because Mill and Phil have my back, after a lot of even more crying. Phil told me that my husband would be so happy to have this baby grow up on a farm like my husband did. Overall, our conversation last night was something I needed. Now, I'm just going to answer some comments. 1. No, this isn't fake, and if you choose to believe that, then that's fine, but don't be dragging my husband when you don't even know him. Liam didn't my husband, it was a car accident and my husband died on impact. Nothing crazy went on, it's just awful, but is as simply as that too. Lee was my friend for a long time. She was genuinely there for me when I went NC with my parents, and I thought she was a decent friend. Now knowing the truth, there is many things I can think of that she did that are red flags. Personally, I think I ignore them because I have never been close to anyone like that other than my husband. 3. Liam is a loser, and from my chat with Barry I learned that he's always had feelings for me and he's never given up because apparently he's my type. He isn't and never will be. 4. Yes, I ordered a drink. I didn't think I needed to disclose that I ordered a lemonade. It was simply a soda. Nothing wild. I know I'm pregnant and it never do anything silly. 5. I'm not magically pregnant. My husband and I both wanted children young and were trying for about a year. We just didn't disclose that we were trying because my husband and I think it's weird telling people, though we having an extra amount. I don't know, but my husband and I are very private people and kept a lot of it that way. And as for the trio, I've blocked them. None of my family are reaching out because they simply don't know me anymore. The only friends who are reaching out are mutuals of either Lee, Barry, and one of Liam's other friends. I was confused on if I wanted Edinburgh because I just left Liam standing there and yelled at Lee. I was so upset. I was confused on the entire thing. But thank you all, and I will update on what happens because I know Liam will not give up until he's in jail. Seriously, hope it doesn't come to that, but the fact he drove past my house twice is uneasy, so I'm hopeful the move to husband's parents' farm will have my baby and myself on a better path.